Do you think it's important for a well-rounded student to know something about the Ten Commandments and the national motto? More states are coming around to that very obvious conclusion. Hi, I'm Stuart Shepard, and this is First Liberty Live. Thank you for liking and sharing our videos. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, today would be a good day to do that. That's how we get to meet new people, is because the more that subscribe, the more people they show it to, so that really helps us out when you just subscribe to the channel or click on that like button. Got a couple friends on the line today to talk to about this. We've got Nate Kellum, who's an attorney of ours over in Memphis, and also Leigh Wambsganss from Patriot Mobile. Hi, Leigh. Hi, Nate.
Hello, Stuart.
It's good to see both of you. We're going to start with you, Nate. It's been quite a journey for all these states that are passing these laws. Can you name off just a few that are currently talking about either putting the In God We Trust in schools or the Ten Commandments in schools where kids can actually see those and reflect on them?
Stuart, we were talking beforehand, it's actually hard to keep up with all the states that are making some move or another, but we know it's happening in Louisiana, Arkansas, West Virginia, Montana, Kentucky, Mississippi. Several others are considering as well. There's a lot brewing here, and of course it all stems from that Kennedy versus Bremerton case of several years ago, where Coach Joe Kennedy, not only did the Supreme Court extend relief and justice for him, but also, importantly, overruled the lemon test.
Now, there are legal challenges ongoing with these, but you just gave the reason why all of those are going to fail ultimately if the laws are properly worded. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right, Stuart. It is really a new age for religious freedom and particularly for religious expressions in public life. Because before Kennedy, there was actually some question and atheist groups would always wield this lemon test dating back several decades from the Lemon case, which essentially held that if there's any type of religious connotation, then it could be censored from the public. Well, now that business is done, we're back to common sense. And that is, do you take a look at the historic tradition and practice as to a particular item? And with that being the case, things like Ten Commandments and In God We Trust certainly find a rightful place in public life.
Why is it good for a well-rounded public school student to at least be familiar with the national motto and the Ten Commandments? What do they gain from knowing about those two things?
Well, it's fundamental, right? Where if you're going to study the country at all, you would certainly need to know the national motto and what's the basis of that. And it really speaks to our origins, what the founders were thinking when they thought about this great experiment of our country. And the Ten Commandments, of course, is the foundation of our whole judicial system, our laws, and certainly it's important for students to know that as well.
We've seen these laws passed in several states so far. You mentioned quite a few, and one common thread with them is that they need to be privately funded. And Leigh, Patriot Mobile said, privately funded, we can do that, and that's where you guys got involved in this. Tell me what your company has been doing.
Well, this dates back for us to 2022 with the Texas In God We Trust law passing. And that law required those posters and if they were in frames or durable posters to be put up in every school in a conspicuous place if it was donated. And we said, hey, we're there. We donated. We wound up donating thousands to schools across Texas, so many that we just couldn't keep up with it. It was really wonderful. And when First Liberty reached out to us about the Ten Commandments laws coming down, we were really excited to sign up again. You know, the First Amendment is so important to Patriot Mobile that it's one of our 4 pillars of giving. And so we're excited to support First Liberty in this space.
I've talked to a number of moms here in Texas who took advantage of your offer to get some funding to help put these into the schools, and they loved it once they kind of got a system down to getting these placed on the walls. You've got an example on your wall there behind you. Describe for me what it takes to make one of those posters right under the law. What does it take?
Well, you have to pay attention to the individual state requirements. So, for example, the Texas state requirements specifically stated what words could be there, what symbols could be there, a U.S. flag and a state flag, and no other symbols. So every state writes their laws a little differently. The great thing about having, of course, Texas would like to be first. We're not first. Our law was just passed by the House this weekend, and they had a few little amendments to it. One of those amendments was if there's a legal challenge that the state would pay to represent those schools in a legal challenge as long as they abode by the law. And so we're expecting that to go through concurrence and be signed into law by the governor. But it's good to be specific in these laws about what it can contain and what it can't contain, because shortly after this came out, there were some atheist and Islamic groups that came out where it was, they did the words, but in Arabic, and they had different symbols on it. One of them had a satanic symbol on it. So it's really good just to have it straight and laid out exactly what can be in it and to abide by the law. We just did the Louisiana case where we donated 3,000 Ten Commandments posters to Louisiana. And in fact, the Attorney General, that law was signed last summer, but in January, the Attorney General put out a memo with literal graphic examples of what these posters would be, what they would look like to be legal. And she said, as long as you abide by the law, I, the Attorney General, will defend your school against any lawsuits. That's pretty impressive. And then now Arkansas, that goes into effect August 5th. And so we're looking forward to working with Governor Huckabee Sanders in Arkansas. We're watching West Virginia. We're just going to follow this all over the nation, wherever it takes us.
There are a lot of people who are really interested in this because they'd like to see a return to young people just having an understanding of the history and tradition of this country of ours. And Nate, I want to bring you back into the conversation on this part of the topic, and that is there are people who've tried to mess with this by coming up with their own designs, coming up with their own posters. What's the proper way to navigate that when those challenges come that aren't so much the legal sense, but people are just trying to mess with the system? What do you say, Nate?
Well, thankfully, for the clarity that was provided by the Kennedy case, we know that we just look at historical practice and historical tradition. And so that's why we have to be very careful with the wording, as they have done in both Louisiana and Texas, in trying to determine, okay, what exactly are we talking about when we talk about Ten Commandments? What is the national motto? These things have historical significance, Stuart. And so it's not just someone putting together a thought of the day or trying to put together something that they believe supports their particular religion. Rather, it's something that is important to this country, and those things are recognized in their not only their historical significance, but also in their constitutional protection.
Very good. What else should people be thinking about if they want to get involved in this as individuals to try to get these placed in schools in states where these laws have passed? What should they be thinking about? Where can they look for information?
Well, I tell you, first of all, I'd be remiss not to thank Patriot Mobile for their support here, Stuart. It's really amazing what they're doing, and because it really makes it very easy to participate. And here at First Liberty, we have our Restoration of Faith in America project is RFIA. And please contact Andrea Justice or anyone else on the team about what we're doing in trying to facilitate things like Ten Commandments, In God We Trust, in schools and public places all over the country.
And Leigh, I want to come back to you. Patriot Mobile is known for supporting conservative causes of all different kinds. I'm sure you get a lot of requests. Why is this something that your company specifically wanted to be involved in? You have many options to choose from, but you said this is something we want to be part of.
We believe this Ten Commandments project reminds students that their liberties come from God and not the government. And at Patriot Mobile, we are above all a Christian conservative wireless provider, and we exist to honor him. And it's our priority to defend our God-given rights and freedoms. And that's why we exist, and that's why we're here, and that's why we love the Ten Commandments Project. It's also why we're a big supporter of First Liberty. And if any of your viewers have not yet given to First Liberty, I encourage them to do so. I wasn't asked to say this, but truly, we vet all of our causes. First Liberty walks the walk, and we're so proud to stand with you in this whole process, however many states it takes us to. We're so happy to work with you guys on this.
All right, thank you for the kind words and for your affirmation and encouragement. Nate and Leigh, thank you for making time for us today and for helping people understand a little bit more about this. Appreciate the work that each of you are doing.
Thank you, Stuart.
All right. If you want to see America's religious heritage defended, you can make that happen by supporting First Liberty Institute. Just look for the big red Give button on our homepage. First Liberty is fighting for faith and delivering freedom.